Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. If you're anything like me, you've sunk tons of hours into Marathon's Server Slam free playtest that just launched this week. In the same vein, if you're anything like me, you've probably died a lot. So I've put together some of my tips that have helped me exfil with more loot, win more gunfights, and survive more runs. And here's why you should listen to me. I've played in almost every alpha test for Marathon that they've dropped since their public April alpha, but due to non-disclosure agreements or NDAs, I can't share any of the content of those tests. However, I have around 150 hours of playtesting experience that I can pass on to you without providing specifics that are from the NDA playtests, because the strategies remain relatively the same. So, where should we get started? Well, I think that fundamentally, if you fail to prepare, you're preparing to fail. Your run will end before it even starts if you bring the wrong equipment in or you don't bring enough consumables. Before I start, it's worth mentioning that if you can't build a basic kit like this one, I'd recommend just sticking to a sponsored kit. They're not as bad as they seem, especially if you actually use the ammo pack the game gives you, and it'll save you a lot of credits, which lets you eventually put together a custom kit like this one that we're going to go over. A basic kit that I run looks like this. First, I take a UESC killing weapon. This is my weapon I use to clear out the ads that you have to fight against every run. I usually take a CE tactical sidearm because it does surprisingly good damage against the UESC, and ammo for it is very plentiful and cheap. Any form of light weapon is usually a good place to start, but I would stay away from the overrun AR. I found that the performance is usually pretty lacking against both players and the UESC. Next, you need a runner weapon. This is usually a high damage, stronger weapon that I use to take out other players. You'll have a lot more freedom of choice with this one. Generally, I like to run either a bolt gun like the V11 Punch or the V22 Bolt Thrower, or I like the Bully SMG if I want to use a ballistic weapon. Don't be afraid of the Volt guns. They're actually extremely strong and they have amazing range, even when you're using just the pistols. Give them a shot. I think you will actually really like them. One thing you guys will want to understand sooner or later in this game is that there are some weapons explicitly designed for fighting the UESC and some weapons that are designed more for fighting runners. That's why splitting the difference across two weapons is generally my strategy of choice. It allows me to mentally keep track of my ammo better to avoid running out. Which leads me to my next point, ammo. Bring a ton. I bring at least 2 to 3 stacks of light rounds for a CE tactical and 3 to 4 stacks of volt batteries for a V11 punch or a volt thrower. Running this setup and with good ammo management during my run, I generally don't run out of ammo even with heavy amounts of combat. If you want, you can also use your grenade spot to bring in an ammo crate, but I wouldn't recommend this because the grenades have significantly more value in a fight than your ammo will. Next, let's talk meds. Now, I might be a little skewed because I take in a lot less meds than others because I play a triage shell, who has a built-in medkit ability. But when I played a Vandal shell in the past, it was pretty normal for me to need 3 to 4 stacks of both shield charges and patch kits to keep my health topped up. I usually don't bother with any other consumables unless I have a specific plan for the run in mind. For example, I might want to rush a specific location right when I spawn, so I might bring a cardio kick, for example. Lastly, let's talk some other items. I almost always try to take a green shield or better, if I can, as it's a force multiplier for my ability to win gunfights. I also try to take a backpack every time so I can actually carry more stuff. By the time I've filled my bag with ammo and meds, I end up needing that extra space pretty quick. Lastly, do the early Mida quests as soon as you can so you can unlock frag grenades for purchase. They are super strong when used right at the start of a team fight. If you get one knock on a runner during a team fight from that grenade, you've already made your money back and then some. Okay, so first off, do yourself a favor and go touch grass, aka find a friend. If that's too hard for you, then join a Marathon Discords looking for group channels like Carnamere Clade and find a crew looking for a third. I'll drop a link to that Discord in the description if you need it. I promise it's not that hard to socialize with others, and your experience in runs and Marathon as a whole will be far, far better if you have a team that's actually coordinating with you. And you're going to want to trust me on this because my biggest gripe with all the alpha and NDA tests I played was that none of my friends got into the tests, so I had to solo queue with random trios every time, which is a lot of solos do now, and it didn't ruin the experience, but it definitely took away from it. And now that I can play with an actual group, it's so much easier and so much more fun. So get yourself a teammate. Okay, So now you have a buddy, or two. Now, the next step is to coordinate your shell choices together. One thing I love about Marathon is that you can really use any of the shells. They're all competitive in their own ways, and they synergize with basically everything. But you need to know how to play around both your abilities and your crewmates' abilities. If you want consistent, easy to use, and very solid performing shells, I'd recommend the Destroyer shell, the Recon shell, and the Triage shell to start. These shells don't require a significant understanding of positioning or movement abilities to perform well with. For example, both Destroyer and Triage have a more damage button that when you activate it, you just do more damage with your gunshots. Recon is amazing in every crew because their scan can help locate enemies that are either hiding, invisible, or are otherwise maneuvering in a way you might not expect during a fight. These runner shells all have fairly straightforward kits that are easy to capitalize on. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't play Assassin or Vandal. They're also very good runners that have strong kits, but due to the nuances of positioning in Marathon and heat management, they might be better suited for when you've played the game a little bit more, you have a little bit more experience, you know the maps a little bit better. For example, if you play as the Vandal shell, it's really easy to accidentally die of fall damage or rush into a room where there's 3 guns staring right back at you because they have a very high speed and low drag playstyle. If you don't have a good understanding of where to push and when to push to win gunfights, then you might have some struggles playing as these other runners. Something they teach in the military is risk management, the concept that you should not accept unwarranted risk. What this means for us in Marathon is that you want to avoid doing things in your runs that aren't worth potentially dying for. Here's an example to get us in the right mindset. There's 7 minutes left in the run, and your group has almost fully filled up your bags with loot from beating other runners. Let's say around 5k credit value in each player's bag. Your assassin crewmate notices that there's a UESC intercept on the other side of the map and wants to clear it for even more loot. However, your group is right next to the exfil and could very easily just leave. Some of you watching will say to take the intercept because you have enough time to do so and then exfil. And then others will say that you already have full bags and to just exfil with what you have and make profit on the run. My point here is that risk management doesn't always have a correct answer. It's fluid based on your own personal levels of risk acceptance. What I intentionally left out in the scenario is that the assassin crewmate has 70,000 credits in their vault. They're perfectly okay with losing that gear and credits because they can just gear right back up and go again. However, you only have 3,000 credits. That 5k credit profit would almost double how much you have in your vault, and you would find a lot more benefit out of keeping that loot. Therefore, the risk management evaluation from both of you should be different. Like I said, there's no right or wrong answers here. I know for me personally, I almost always would rather just keep the 5k credits than risk it all for 2k more maybe, but that's my own personal choice, and you should consider yours for your own runs. Anyways, for now, those are all the basic level tips I have for you. If this video helps you or you learned something in this video, drop a follow and a thumbs up, and leave a comment if you have any questions or thoughts. I'd love to hear and answer them. If this video does well, then I'll consider doing a round 2 of tips and tricks to help you have some more successful runs in Marathon. With that being said, thank you guys for the support, and I'll see you Starside. Later.